We are all brainwashed. I don't care who you are or where you came from. We all buy certain products, believe in certain types of religion, look at society and people a certain way because of how we've been indoctrinated, whether it's through our family, the media. However, we have to all agree we've all been brainwashed. That's why I buy Coke instead of Pepsi, or you buy Skittles instead of M&Ms. Who knows? And this is the reason why we have the political ideologies that we have. That being said, over the last 10 years, I've heard so many people ask, and even more so today, how did we get here? This is like the ongoing question, because it's so unbelievable that people just don't understand how this all came to be. Hey, welcome back to Political Critical Thinking. I'm Stephanie Beninati. So how did we get here? Well, it all started in 1971 when one very powerful man looked around America and said, hell no. White people and black people coming together, marching in the streets, gays and lesbians coming out of the closet, kissing and holding hands in public, asking for the same rights as everybody else, women wanting equality, like wanting to get out of the house, or even worse, divorce their husbands, consumers holding corporations accountable, like, oh my God, they don't want to be polluted by their drinking water. The youth was going into colleges and coming out like liberal because they were saying, I don't think I want to go to Vietnam. I think this is a corrupt war. I don't think that that's something that I want to do, and I'm going to protest against it. Now, it wasn't just the protest, but what he saw was progress. Progress, think progressive. Progress. Just keep that word in the back of your mind. What this one very powerful man who had a lot of political connections saw was terrifying. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the 1970s. Civil rights is no longer just a dream, it's actually law. Feminism is gaining traction. That means women are wearing pants. Gay liberation is marching through the streets. And thanks to people like Ralph Nader, corporations are finally being held accountable for things like poisoning our planet, poisoning our food. I don't know, building exploding cars. 3 points if you guess what car used to explode in the 70s. In short, democracy was winning. It was working, and it was getting bolder. And who did this threaten? It threatened the corporations, 100%. Only they didn't know that they could even do anything. Even though they had tremendous influence in politics, they didn't use their sway. They didn't know how until one man showed them. Lewis Powell, a corporate lawyer who represented Big Tobacco, envisioned a world where corporations had unlimited power to act as an individual and sway and build a coalition, infiltrate the education system, but most importantly, the judicial system. Powell saw that if the people came together, they actually had power, they had sway, and that scared him, and it scared his elite business owners. What Powell understood is that they didn't take a playbook from the activist and come together in a way that could change hearts and minds of the people. Not that they were done for. They would all still be millionaires and billionaires, and their shareholders would still profit, but they would profit less because they would have to spend money, I don't know, on things like paying a fair wage, keeping from polluting the planet and people, being held accountable. That was a problem for business owners. And I'm going to draw a connection of how those ideals and ideologies infiltrated our communities and our culture for the last 50 years. So Powell, after one of those 3 martini power lunches that men used to have back in the 70s, after spending a whole lunch espousing these ideologies to a powerful Washington elite, that powerful Washington elite asked him to put his ideologies into paper. That's where the Powell Memo came to life. It was called the Attack on American Free Enterprise, but it should have been called How to Stop the American People from Winning. And the first step to stop American people from winning is to make corporations stop whining about it and do something. Get organized and fight back. He laid it out step by step. And in 1971, these were the steps. Take over the courts. 2025? Check. Fund ideological think tanks. 2025? Check. Think Heritage Foundation. Control the media. 2025? Check. Think, fake news. Infiltrate the education system. 2025? Yep, check. Oh, the education system are liberal think tanks and they are indoctrinating our children. Wonder how we all came up with that ideology. By ourselves, or was it fed to us? Crush protest moments. And in 2025, check. It was like a fascist vision board, only instead of putting pictures of Nazis, they focused their attention on family values, Christian values, all of these things. This vision board was like, let's show the Americans how all of these things are good for them. Let's change the narrative. Let's be clear, Powell's memo did not sit on the shelf. It took off, and it was shown directly to President Nixon, who, I don't know, coinky dinky, 2 months later, he was nominated to the Supreme Court after having zero judicial experience. I mean, this kind of seems to be a right thing where they just put people in power that don't have any experience because they feel that they can push their ideology. I'm not saying that Powell gets all the credit for being this great leader of this movement. What his memo did was it launched the movement. And the first stop, the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation was launched to do exactly what the Powell Memo had outlined. They wanted to rewrite the narrative, reshape law, and retrain the elite, retrain them. That is fascinating. The Heritage Foundation became the brain trust of the right. Reagan read the reports like bedtime stories. Fox News used them to create their script. And decades later, they're behind one of the most terrifying plans yet, Project 2025, a playbook for a full-on authoritarian grab. And it's all connected. The Powell Memo was the blueprint. The mandate for leadership was the first draft. And Project 2025 is the playbook. Okay, so what does that all have to do with today and how did we get here? Well, what started as a fear on the progressive movement became a war on democracy. And what we got from that memo and from all of the billions and trillions of dollars that were funded into building this machine, which we'll break down in other videos, is we got tax cuts for the rich, and not just tax cuts for the rich, but we got the poor champion tax cuts for the rich. That's fucking brilliant. Let's be honest. Union busting, not only did they get union busting, but they got the people to hate unions. I even know Democrats who are like, oh, union workers are lazy. They just want to be in a union so they can take their smoke breaks. Smoke, smoke, smoke. I mean, so what if you get a smoke break? Who cares? Corporate personhood. So now corporations have the same powers and same rights as you and me, only they have a shit ton more money, attorneys, power, and influence to get whatever they want. So if it's between me and corporations, they're going to win almost every time, especially when they have Republicans leading the charge. A bought and paid Supreme Court, which we see right now, ruling against decades of civil rights and laws that protect you and me, even though we've been brainwashed to think that they protect other people and that those other people don't really deserve those rights. What we don't understand is that those rights that protect the other people actually protect all of us. But the most important thing that they created was a media echo chamber that made the word liberal a slur, that made progressives the enemy of the state and made their own institutions, media institutions, basically predators and pariahs. I mean, they did that and they won. They won on making people hate the news while reporting the news. I mean, you got to give them props for just having a vision and building it and then seeing it all come to fruition. Even if it's going to destroy our democracy, you and me and our children and everything that we ever hold dear, you still got to give them some props. But here's the thing, while we have been fighting for our lives and our rights, they were slowly building a machine that would outlive presidencies, that would weather through and grow stronger. They were playing a long, long ground game, and they won. They absolutely won. Because this machine is now finishing the job of what Project 2025 set out to do, dismantling the federal government and replacing it with far right loyalist. Okay, so this sounds all very depressing. Here's where we are. This is happening. What are we going to do? It's all very upsetting. It is upsetting. But here's what we have to do. Like anything else in life, if you want to get good at something, you need to learn. So number one, you need to understand that Powell's memo wasn't just a memo. It was a call to arms for the elite. But what if we flipped it, right? What if we flipped it? What if our call to arms was truth-telling no matter what? And instead of arguing these day-to-day issues, understanding what the Powell Memo was and the history of how we got here, and that is the story that you tell from now on to everybody. And then you start drawing a correlation between where we are today and what that memo laid out. Because exposing the machine and naming the playbook and saying, we see you, we see what you're doing, we got it, we know what's going on, only then can we even begin to affect any real change. Because when people understand the script, when they stop falling for the performance, that is when we come together. I want to say two last things. One is what Powell saw more than anything else is he saw an organized, clear-minded, articulate group of people that came together in a progressive way to fight for democracy. And Powell took that playbook, our playbook. We need to get that playbook back. We need to understand what we were doing right back in the 70s, and we need to come together. And the first things first, we have to all find our voice, and we need to start speaking truth to power. And even truth to our family members, even if it's by sharing videos on YouTube. Maybe you write a letter, maybe you write a text, maybe you send a voicemail, and we need to find people who are willing to fight alongside us. Because it's not just for us, which I think self-preservation is a pretty fucking big-ass motivator, but it's not just for us, right? If you have children, it's for them. It's for our country. And you know what? It's just like, if you're feeling depressed, it feels better to do something. It feels better to like be engaged. And even if you're just learning, if you're just building your intellectual knowledge, if that's all you can do right now, that's a big deal. I appreciate all of you. Again, like and subscribe and share, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.